Alright, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all honor and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and blessing to the elected Israel. Okay? This is another edition of Spirit is Like the Wind. Alright? And Lord willing, this video is edifying. So what happened was, I saw this video, okay, of some Jake, alright, or two Jakes, rapping or whatever. And I was just thinking to myself, man, hey, when you look at these Jakes, man, and they listen to this music, they got them spirits on them, man. And who runs the mainstream music industry or Hollywood as a whole? Amalek, okay? The so-called Jews, man, those fake Jews. They run that music industry, man. And so, for instance, they set up these Jakes. And they set up these Jakes to do their rapping, and they sign them, and they sign them to a label, and all this other stuff like that, man. And all it does is just put spirits on our people, okay? And it be putting demons on Jake, man. Okay, music can either put spirits on you, or it can take spirits off of you. Now I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip, man. Watch this, man. Watch this. Yeah, man, so you saw it for yourself, man. You see how Jake get down when he started listening to that music, I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say that I don't listen to rap music or nothing like that, all right? But guess what? The scriptures say there is no enchantment against Jacob, man. So, hey, if the Lord is dealing with you, none of that stuff can affect you, man. Or if the Lord is dealing with you, you could drink poison and it won't harm you, man, okay? On a lower level, hey, we drinking poison and we're eating poison daily. All right, our bread is defiled amongst the Gentiles, But, our Lord willing, we're of the elect. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying that humbly, The Lord is dealing with us, but I say that from a humble standpoint. Nevertheless, you see Jake's spirit when he started rapping that music over them, man. It's like he was throwing enchantments on him, man. Jake was wilding out. If you go back and play the clip with no sound, okay, you'll see it so perfectly. Like, this nigga look like he got demons on him, man. Like, go back and go play the clip with no sound, man. You'll see it perfectly. So, the fact of the matter is, hey, music can alter your spirit, man. Okay? Because of the vibrations that it pushes. All right? And I'm going to get a quick scripture real quick. All right? And, Lord willing, this video is edifying. And then I'm going to play these clips. And, by the way, these clips don't belong to me. They belong to YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI and the person that YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI used to go about. All right? And, Lord willing, this video is edifying. Let me go ahead and grab this, all right? This is 1 Samuel 16, and starting at verse 14. It says, "But the Spirit of the Lord Yahweh departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord Yahweh troubled him." Okay? So that was a demon. Saul had a demon on him. And notice how it said, "from the Lord Yahweh." Okay? The Most High sent that demon on Saul. It says, "And Saul's servants said unto him, Behold, now an evil spirit from the Most High troubleth thee." 1 Samuel 16 and 16. "Let our Lord now command thy servants which are before thee to seek out a man who is a cunning player on an harp." A harp is an instrument. It says, "And it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit from the Most High is upon thee, that he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well. Okay, right, all right, because music can alter your spirit. You know, like if you listen to that Native American, so-called Native American flute music, hey, that stuff really does alter your spirit, man. Okay, or if you listen to some dubstep or whatever, you know that should be getting you hyped, man. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it may be, music really does alter your spirit. Sometimes music can make you sad. Sometimes music can make you mad, man. Sometimes music can make you happy. Sometimes music can make you you know, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess I'll say excited in an adrenaline type of way. Okay. 1 Samuel chapter 16, starting at verse 17. And Saul said unto his servants, provide me now a man that can play well, and bring him to me. Verse 18. Then answered one of the servants and said, behold, I have seen a son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, that is cunning in playing. That's talking about King David. King David is the son of Jesse. All right. Now let's go ahead and prove that real quick. All right. Isaiah chapter 11 and 11. That's like 11 and 1. All right. Let me go ahead and turn to it. Because King David comes from Jesse, and Jesse comes from Obed. All right. And by the way, King David's grandmother was a Moabite, Ruth. Okay. Isaiah 11 and 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. Who is that rod out of the stem of Jesse? That's King David. Okay. It says, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. Right. So that root is talking about, that root coming out of David is talking about YAHAWASHI. All right. So that's the point on that right there. All right. Now pursuing back to 1 Samuel 16 and verse 18. It says, 1 Samuel 16 and 18. It says, then answered one of the servants and said, behold, I have seen a son of Jesse the Bethlehemite, that is cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord Yahweh is with him. Wherefore Saul sent his messengers unto Jesse and said, send me David, thy son, which is with the sheep. And Jesse took an ass laden with bread, and a bottle of wine, and a kid, and sent them by David his son unto Saul. And David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly. And he became his armor bearer. And Saul sent to Jesse, saying, let David, I pray thee, stand before me, for he hath found favor in my sight. And it came to pass, when the evil spirit from the Most High was upon Saul, that David took an harp and played with his hand. And so Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. So there you go, man. All right, certain vibrations can alter your spirits. Okay, so that's the point on that right there.
I can target certain parts of the mind, target the frequency to go to certain parts of the mind, and I can literally, if I want you to astral project, or if I want you to go to sleep, or if I want you to go into a meditative state, I can make my music do that.
The brain processes information electrically. It communicates with the cellular structure electrically, and it operates within a certain band of frequency. If you can broadcast frequencies carrying information, this technology has long been known, carrying information and perceptions within the frequency that the brain decodes information, the brain will decode those frequencies and will have those perceptions. You can externally influence people's perceptions externally by broadcasting these frequencies that we interact with, because we are antenna.
The sad reality is that where we now play our music is in A440. Where did that come from? It used to be 417. A440 came in with the Roman Catholic Church. They suppressed the frequencies. They lost somehow the 152 of the best Gregorian chants, including the hymn to St. John the Baptist, which we've now recovered. that particular hymn was what triggered Dr. Palaio's investigation, looking for those frequencies of vibration by which the music was played. It was known as the most uplifting hymn of all the ages, the most spiritually uplifting hymn. Hymn to St. John the Baptist. It was played to 6 tones. These are those 6 tones. These are those 6 frequencies. And so the A440 is what now is the standard tuning. If you go A439, you're closer to one of the Creator's tones. If you go A441, you're closer to one of the Creator's original tones. That's how precisely it has been manipulated. To do what? To shut down the 95% of your brain, particularly the right brain that operates the heart-mind to the divine human community.
Some decades ago, there was a guy who worked out the frequencies of different emotional states. This is long ago. I mean, it's very, very sophisticated now. So every thought, every emotional response is a frequency. It generates a frequency, and it is of itself a frequency. Hate is a frequency, and it's different to love. You know, when you are in a room and there's lots of aggression and conflict and hatred, you feel it. What do people say? Oh God, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife in there. That is because the frequencies of hate and conflict have been so generated, they have changed the electromagnetic field.
I'm a researcher in a number of technologies. I serve as the executive director of the Lay Foundation on Technologies. I'm also the chairman of Earth Pulse Press, a publishing company dedicated to getting issues out that are obscure and unusual. Our hallmark is footnoting. Everything that we publish is extremely well footnoted with mainstream media reports, technical documents, military records, and the like. And we believe that's important because when you deal with startling subjects, you're into areas where you really need that evidence so people that are interested and policymakers can look at these issues and really move change. You know, the most controversial issue that we've dealt with over the last 10 years is this idea of physical control of the mind, being able to manipulate what happens within the brain of human beings for specific applications, whether they be to degrade human performance or, in many instances, enhanced human performance. Several years ago, we were able to take a device to the European Parliament while we were testifying on another issue that we've covered over the last decade, the HAARP controversy, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project. But we had them broaden that agenda in order to cover other issues, such as this whole concept of interfering with human brain performance. And we took with us what's called an infrasound device. You see it in the literature from time to time. This particular device was made essentially in a garage by, I would not say amateur, certainly professional scientists, but we were able to show how infrasound works and demonstrate that in the hearing. And we were given initially 15 minutes, they expanded that to an hour and a half and let us do a full presentation on the effects of these technologies. And as a result, in the most significant security and disarmament resolution ever passed by the European Parliament, a major section lays out a call for international treaty bans on this technology. In the book Earth Rising, the Revolution, we actually have a chapter dedicated to this subject. And let me kind of tell a little bit about sort of how this works. You can affect the human brain by external oscillators, fields that vibrate, if you will. And so you can use a lot of different things. I mean, you see, and some people have seen, the light and sound devices where flickering light at a certain pulse rate will cause, within window frequencies, chemical reactions within the brain that literally change your emotional state, your brain state. And the human brain really operates in 4 ranges. If you start at the very deepest states of sleep, you're at delta, approximately 1 to 4 hertz. Hertz are vibrations per second or pulses per second. So you can go 1 to 4, that's where you are when you're very deeply asleep. The next level, approximately 4.1, going up to about 7, a little less than 7. This is a theta range. This is where you are when you're kind of between that awake and asleep state, where you're sort of aware of your dreams. This is also where 3 to 5-year-olds spend most of their time, which explains an awful lot when you think about kids trying to figure out what's imaginary and what's real at those ages. It's because of where their brain activity is. It makes it very difficult to distinguish. The next level, the alpha level, is a very important level. The Earth actually has a frequency of its own. It's called Schumann's resonance. It was discovered in Munich, Germany in the early 50s, 7.83 hertz. Pulses per second. This is right in the alpha range, which is where athletes talk about the zone, or creative artists talk about being in sync. And writers have that certain flow of creativity. It's in that alpha range where this occurs. This is the ideal state for learning, for assimilating lots of information, and some of the anomalous things that happen in human brain performance. Above that is beta. This is where people are when they're actively engaged in most communications. And high beta is where you are when you're highly agitated. So these external oscillators send signals in at these specific frequencies that then the brain entrains to, locks onto, and begins to mirror. And as it does, you get the very dramatic changes in brain state. When you go back to 1969, the work of Jose Delgado, who was an electrophysiologist. He was educated with a degree in electrophysiology from the University of Madrid in 1950. He then went to Yale University and began mapping the brain of primates, humans, and other animals to see what parts of the brain would stimulate various activity. And in those days, 1969, he used implant technology to stimulate. Then he used a radio frequency transmitter, sent a small electric current, caused certain effects. And he demonstrated some of these effects. In one instance, in a book called Psycho-Civilized Society, published in 1969, written by Delgado, he shows an image of a charging bull, and he throws the switch as it gets a couple feet from him, and it stops. Not dead, but dead in its tracks. It stops. He then continued to evolve the technology, and by the mid-80s, he reported in scientific literature the fact that he could create the same effect with no implant at all, no physical contact with the subject, and he was able to take primates and humans from lethargic, passive to highly aggressive, like flipping on and off a light switch. And what he used was a radio frequency at 1/50th of what the Earth naturally produces. Now let me put that in perspective. When you think about where we're all standing right now, wherever we are on the planet, there is 200 million times more radio frequency energy around us than what the Earth produces. And yet 1/50th in the right window frequency can trigger these cascades, this change in brain activity. And what they found is certain window frequencies, certain frequencies were active. It's almost like, in fact it is like, dialing through the radio station, and you get resonance between the transmitter and receiver, and you get a nice clear signal, everything's working together, and you get the signal and you hear the station. In between is static. Well, most of the energy around us is the static. But when it hits these frequencies, tremendous changes can occur. Many will remember a number of years ago an incident in Japan where they were showing a cartoon on television, kids sitting reasonably distant, and the idea is the energy dissipates. It's very little energy by the time you're 10 feet away. But the flicker rate sent 700 children to the hospital with epileptic seizures, and it was thought to be harmless. It's not harmless. It's the frequency that's relevant. And so the military, back in 1985, contracted the University of Utah to put together what's called the Radio Frequency Dosimetry Handbook, which is the dosages of radio frequency energy and what kind of energy and what waveform, shapes, pulse rates, etc. affect each organ of the body, from the brain, the heart, the liver, the lungs. So you can override those natural functions with these external signals to either degrade the organs or improve or stabilize their function. Unfortunately, most of this research rests with the military, and as a consequence it's used for the wrong applications in our opinion, because these breakthroughs could offer great opportunities in the health professions and other professions in really overcoming the problems that the world is facing today. When you think about radio frequency energy as a means for influencing behavior, you can go back to 1973, and there was a book called Between Two Ages, written by Zbigniew Brzezinski. When he was at Columbia University, this is before he became National Security Advisor to U.S. President Jimmy Carter. And what he said in this book, and if you look it up, you can find it, I think it's on either page 56 or 57, it's right in that range, and you'll see this quote where he says, if we can ever figure out how to electronically stroke the ionosphere, this layer that begins about 30 miles above the Earth's surface that's responsible for the character and quality of radio transmission, if we could ever trigger that to oscillate in such a way, he said, we could alter the emotional state of large percentage of the population over huge geographic areas, And he was quoting from J.F. Gordon MacDonald, who was a science advisor to Lyndon Johnson and a professor at UCLA, who had written about this concept. And the oscillating of the ionosphere is now possible. Through our earlier work on HAARP, and those interested in that can go to our website, get plenty of information, and begin to understand that issue. But the book itself contains 350 footnoted sources that really get into the meat of this issue. But mind control, we consider, for us, our next effort, because HAARP was a major effort over 10 years. We're continuing that effort. But this idea that people can artificially interfere with human brain performance, thereby interfering with free will, is something that in most religious traditions, even God won't do.
What did you say, nigga? Yeah, so what that guy said was off, all right? There's no such thing as free will, okay? The Most High, Yahweh, He controls everything, all right? Jeremiah 10:23, O Lord Yahweh, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. Okay, so there you go. All right, so the way of man is not in himself. You don't control what you do. The Lord controls what you do. All right. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 18:3. It says, actually I'll start at verse 1. He that liveth forever created all things in general. The Lord only is righteous, and there is none other but He, who governeth the world with the palm of His hand. In all things obey His will, for He is King of all, by His power dividing holy things among them from profane. Okay, so there you go. All right, you said it right there. You know, all things obey the Most High's will. Okay. The same thing with the governments. The Lord controls the governments, all right? It's Proverbs 21:1, the king's heart, talking about his mind, is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh. As the rivers of water, He turneth it whithersoever He will. Okay? Yeah, all right? So that's the point on that right there. Proverbs 15:11, hell and destruction are before the Lord Yahweh. How much more then the hearts of the children of men? Okay? So there you go. And when it's talking about hell, it's talking about a condition. All right. It's not talking about a place where Satan is down there with a pitchfork poking people in the back, man. All right. So the Lord, He controls everything.
Traditions, even God won't do. And yet our government is pursuing this for the interest, military interest, rather than enhancing human performance. On the other side are the civilian researchers. You have researchers that have developed binaural beat, which is a patented technology, which creates, you know, the ears, we can't hear these very low frequency signals. Our ears just don't work at those low frequencies. So what happens with binaural beat, you send a signal in at, say, 16,000 hertz or pulses per second or vibrations per second in one ear, 16,000 and say 7 in the other. They cancel and leave a beat frequency of 7 hertz. The brain locks onto that frequency. Both hemispheres of the brain begin to resonate together, which means the creative side and the analytical side are working together. It elevates IQ. It brings the best of intuition with the analytical mind. What the Creator, however we perceive that, really intended, both sides to work together. In little children, you see that. You see energy distributions across the brain, relatively uniform. I mean, where there's lots of energy spread on both sides. As we begin to educate them through our system, they tend to drift one way or the other. Young girls tend to become more creative and emotional and that kind of thing, whereas boys are treated differently, so they become more analytical. And we're starting to see changes there finally. I mean, society is changing. But unfortunately, it's drifting more to the analytical side because these creative concepts in terms of utilizing technologies for the brain are not being applied. With the exception of the Minneapolis School District and some others now copying their program, they actually put in what's called brain biofeedback or neurobiofeedback systems. These systems allow, for instance, for children, because children are a little bit tougher to work with, they made these little helmets that kind of look like a bicycle helmet. They have electrodes in a number of locations to map or really monitor brain activity. Then on a screen, they might have something like a bouncing ball. And the idea is for the kid to learn how to bounce the ball into a certain range. In that ideal state for learning at will, something most of us can't even do. After a year, 80% of the student population in that school was off of all psychoactive drugs. No need for Ritalin anymore. They could move back in. Number of them, perhaps not 80% the first year, but a number of them, and eventually most of them were able to move into regular education classes. Now, you think about that technology for the child and the parents, and it's phenomenal. It changes lives. Think about it from your own self-interest. If you're a taxpayer, it costs 3, 4, 5 times as much to educate a special needs child. This technology, be a committee of one and do something in your community. Contact the Minneapolis School District. Inquire about brain biofeedback and neurobiofeedback. There's 14,000 school districts in this country. Get the information to your school district and make a difference and apply the technology in the right way. In terms of the military applications of this technology, we should view it from the lens in which it's focused. It's evil, it's wrong, it's an incorrect approach. It's about control, it's about power, it's about the very things that most principled people would stand against.
Right, so all Esau's little gadgets, he's being revealed, man. He's being revealed for his devices, man. Okay? Now, that's technology that the Heavenly Father gave Esau, man. Alright? Because that's why Esau, his pride is lifted up. Because the Lord gave him a lot of technology, and Esau thinks he's the Most High now. And ultimately, what's going to happen is he's going to usher in that RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. Alright, and then that's when Esau officially is going to feel like, he's the Most High, because he has control over pretty much anyone who takes that chip. All right, but Esau, what your downfall is and what your demise is, man, is that you're just a man. You're not the Most High. Okay, and that's Esau's problem. Through all the technology and the knowledge that the Most High has given him, his mind, he's lifted up in his mind, man. He's prideful, and he believes that he's the Most High. Esau truly believes he's the Most High, especially with gadgets like that, man. Okay, being able to tap into the frequencies and the vibrations of sound waves in order to alter your, I guess, spirit, if you will, and make you go about certain things a certain way. This is Ezekiel 28, and starting at verse 1. Then the word of the Lord Yahawah came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, Thus saith the Lord Yahawah power, because thine heart is lifted up. Thou hast said, I am God, I sit in the seat of the Most High, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and not the Most High, though thou set thine heart as the heart of the Most High. Okay, right. So Esau, he thinks he's the Most High, man. Why? Because the Most High, what does Scripture say? That the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field, more wiser than any beast of the field. Okay, verse 3. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. All right, right, because Esau, the elites, they got all this money. The Most High gave them all this money and all this wisdom to go search everything out, man, and and go conduct these researches and these experiments, okay, which gives them the technology. All right. Verse 4, with thy wisdom and with thine understanding thou hast gotten thee riches, and thou hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Right, man. So Esau's heart is lifted up because of his riches, man. All right. But the Lord is using us, the foolish of this world, to confound the wise, man. Okay. And Esau knows that we are the true children of the Most High. And we're confounding them, man. Because they go and they set up all these little people to come against the truth. But we confound them through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI. Alright? Esau truly thinks he's the Most High. Okay? Let's get another scripture on that. And through his little technology, in a way, he does have godlike power through his technology. Okay? That's why our scriptures talk about through his miracles, he deceiveth them with his miracles, which is his technology. In Revelation 13, it talks about that. Isaiah 14 and verse 13, it says, For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Okay, right. All right. Esau really thinks he's like the Most High, man. Okay. Through his little wisdom that the Most High has given him. The Most High gave you that technology. Okay? Because the scriptures say, Salakio. Let me get that real quick. All right. Sirach 1:1. All wisdom coming from the Lord and is with him forever. There you go. So Esau, the Most High, gave you that wisdom. Okay? And the fact of the matter is, man, you've seen it for yourself with those clips that I just played, which, by the way, those clips do not belong to me. They belong to YAHAWASHI and whoever the Most High put it in the spirit to go about those, make those videos, okay? Those clips, those third-party clips do not belong to me, all right? I don't take any credit for those clips, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and read the scripture, and I believe I'm going to close out on this one. This is 2 Chronicles, chapter 5, starting at verse 12. Also the Levites, which were the singers, all of them of Asaph and Heman and of Jeduthun, with their sons and their brethren, being arrayed in white linen, having cymbals and psalteries and harps, stood at the east end of the altar, and with them 120 priests, sounding with trumpets. It came even to pass as the trumpeters and the singers were as one, to make one sound to be heard in praising and thanking the Lord Yahweh. And when they lift up their voice with the trumpets and cymbals and instruments of music, and praise the Lord Yahweh, saying, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever, that then the house was filled with a cloud, even the house of the Lord Yahweh. And that cloud is talking about a chariot. The Lord came down on his glory when he heard the music, man. That's how great they were playing that music, worshiping the Most High, man. So music can alter your spirit. Music is so powerful enough, the Most High came down on a chariot to listen to it, man. Okay? So if that doesn't show you how powerful music can be, then I don't know what can. Verse 14. So that the priest could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord Yahweh had filled the house of the Most High. Right, so that's the point on that right there. So you got to watch what you listen to. Because, you know, the proof is in the pudding. You know, music can alter your spirit. All right. So with that, I want to go ahead and give all honor and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone that rule well. Peace and blessing to the elect of Israel. Shalom.